What livestock is the hardest livestock, period? You have any guesses?
Yeah, I have my number one.
In this video, we've ranked livestock from easiest to hardest, but not just based off our opinion.
Based off of hundreds of other homesteaders' opinions as well.
You voted, we're gonna share easiest to hardest.
Sounds like pigs right now.
Listen to them, that's ridiculous. We already fed them this morning. Years ago, I released a video. So what I've done is from our past experience, I've kind of listed these in what I think are the best for beginners, medium level. Ranking livestock easiest to hardest for beginners. And I got a ton of flack in that video because I had the audacity to say that dairy cows were easier than dairy goats. You may disagree. The comment section was livid. Well, I should say the goat owner comment section was livid with people saying there's no way goats are harder than dairy cows. Well, I'm not making that mistake again. So for this video, we actually built a questionnaire and we asked anybody with livestock experience to fill it out. And it was very simple. All you had to do was pick an animal you have experience with and say if it was easy, medium, or hard. We're gonna now share with you which animals the most people with experience said were easy all the way to the hardest. This is a grudge match, goat people, you ready? Right, buttons? Keep you around so I get my fudge. Here's how we're gonna go through our list. I know the rankings.
I don't know the rankings.
But in addition to ranking our livestock, people shared naughty livestock stories.
And I know the stories.
And I don't know the stories. So she's gonna try to guess the rankings, I'm gonna try to guess the stories, and you can all have fun guessing along. All right, we're gonna start with easiest.
Okay, I'm gonna say starting at the easiest is going to be chickens.
Da 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 da, show her what she's won. Yes, chickens. It is no surprise that the gateway animal was by far voted the easiest animal. So out of everybody who answered our poll, do you own chickens? What do you think? Are they easy, medium, hard? Over 90% of the people called chickens easy.
That makes sense to me. There's a low startup cost. If you have just a small coop, a bowl for water, a bowl for feed, and a couple bucks, you can get chicks at the store.
So if you want to know what livestock to start with, yeah, anything under there? This is where everybody should start, and with good reason. They are, more than 100 people voted, way easy. So get some chickens.
Way easy.
I don't know about getting eggs. That doesn't seem so easy lately, girls. No way. Oh, yay! There we go. Get some chickens. They're very easy.
Okay, next.
Okay, it's not goats. It's not goats.
They make a giant mess.
Ducks.
Not ducks. You spend most of your time trying to keep them from killing themselves or each other.
Oh. Everyone says that about goats, but it's not goats.
There's small bones, and the mess to butcher made it a one-time thing for this person.
Oh, rabbits.
No.
No!
It's quail.
Quail. Oh man, I don't know anything
I didn't know that about quail.
Because we've never had quail, but after seeing where they rank now in our lineup, I kind of want to get into quail.
Oh.
Well, out of everyone who said they own quail, 74% said they were easy, hands down, with only a very small percentage calling quail hard. Okay, number 3, what would you guess then was close with quail?
Rabbits.
Bam! You are on fire. You're guessing
no, I'm just thinking
way
small
better than
animals.
me. Right behind quail at 70%, people said rabbits were very, very easy. So they take the number 3 spot in the easiest livestock.
I think rabbits were easy too. We got into them. They had babies. There will always be complications with anything you do. It might not work out right away, but for us it worked out really well. They had babies right away. We had like the what's killing the babies kind of thing happen,
Yep.
And then they get out everywhere, and but for the most part, we had rabbits to butcher within 6 months of starting them, and I think that makes them an easier animal.
Careful, there you go, 2 hands. What do you think of white bunnies?
These animals share one brain cell, and no one knows whose turn it is.
Ducks.
They are messy. And put little holes all over the place where they dig.
Yep, that's
Ducks.
the dead giveaway.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Ducks are easy to keep alive. They have a nice product, yummy eggs if you can eat them. The issue with ducks, why I think they're farther up, is they're messy.
Yes.
Brooding ducklings, it can be a just stinky nightmare.
65% of people who own ducks said they were easy, 30% who said that they were like a medium difficulty level, and then the remainder, small percentage, 5%, said they were hard. They're still easy, like the next animal on our list.
They're either really dumb or really mischievous.
Sheep.
Couldn't keep them alive. Just keel over with no warning.
Oh man, that sounds like goats.
Even 4 or 5 months old.
Turkeys?
Turkeys!
Turkeys! Turkeys!
Thank you, Jack from Mindful Homestead.
Yes.
He knows turkeys.
Yes.
Chickens and ducks are pretty resilient. Pigs will tell you when something is wrong, but turkeys can just keel over with no warning.
That is the truth. Keeping those dumb animals alive. And I say dumb because they're dumb. They're dead. He's dying. Eggy and
those
predators killed him. The Narragansetts got killed by predators. There you go. That's dumb.
But well, okay. Remember the big guy? He would have lived forever.
Out of like 60 turkeys we tried to raise.
And we had these midgets. So yeah, I would say
not
turkeys.
Politically correct.
And
small turkey is what I would prefer to call them.
I would say turkeys are a medium.
But they are not, because
let me hear the stats. Maybe they're on the easy side of medium. They're not like a solid easy. They're pretty far away from chickens on the list.
Turkeys, 55%.
That's pretty close.
55% of the people.
That's just barely over easy.
Said that they were easy. 35% said they were medium difficulty, and 10%, Jack from the Mindful Homestead, I'm looking at you, Jack, said they were hard.
Okay, I'm gonna call that a medium easy, or a medium but on the side of easy. And I think for the same reason, low startup cost. There's not a lot invested in a turkey poll. We had them in our brooder and they just disappeared.
We had a turkey disappear.
In a brooder.
First thing early this morning, I'm gonna go check on them and see how many have survived the night. Oi, oi, oi. That is not good.
We have no idea to this day where that turkey went.
By the way, go check out Jack from the Mindful Homestead, as well as all the other homesteads who shared their social media links and shared these wonderful stories. We'll have links below if you want to find some great new channels, really good homesteading channels that have some really funny, naughty livestock stories to share with you.
If you get your kids into this, they won't have money for drugs.
Homesteading.
Yes, period. So many variables to get just right to keep them alive, and there's a huge learning curve.
Bees?
Everything likes to eat them, and they can always jump out on you.
Jump. Rabbits! We already did rabbits. Jump.
Everything from, you'll get it now, pH.
Fish.
Temperature, proper diet, water chemistry.
Fish.
To depth of water. That's Rachel. Rachel's husband, this is what he does for a living. Aquarist, who does maintenance on fish tanks. He knows. They can always jump out on you.
I was surprised after hearing that, like how well fish did in our ranking. They squeaked in there at 50% on the nose. 50% of the people who said they raise fish on their farm or homestead for food said they were easy. Now, I think I know why, because fish had, up to this point, the highest amount of people, 12%, said it was hard. My best guess, based off of what I saw in comments, was I think the people who are like, I got a pond in the backyard and I go catch a couple bass out of it.
Okay, like
that
a
was
farm
easy.
pond?
Yeah, so if you're like raising fish in a farm pond, that's like you're catching fish in your farm pond.
Yeah, I think we're gonna refer to it more as like an aquaponic setup, something you're deliberately farming.
Well, I didn't clarify that, and so that's why, I don't know, do aquaponics people, comment below, do you think it's super easy? I know not all of you do.
No, I would say that because that's so close to a medium.
Yeah, but it's still the last
Squeaked
easy.
in there. Let's see what
that
they're
doesn't have
doing.
our star of approval calling it easy. We tried it. It's a lot of testing water and chemicals and hardware and leaks. But if you have like a farm pond and you could throw some trout in it or tilapia or something.
Some people just love that sort of thing.
Let's talk about flushing dead minnows in today's video. Now we're entering into the medium section of our rankings. More people said these animals were medium difficulty than they did easy. This one, next on the ranking, nobody said it was hard.
Geese?
Bing!
Whoa!
Nice. Now seeing how many people say they're easy, I totally want to do some geese now. 46% of the people who own geese said they were easy, and 54% say they were medium. Nobody called geese hard. Not one person.
So, is that our next livestock?
We're really...
I just don't want them to like attack
people
kids.
who like geese love them. Yeah. And I do think like we're really starting to consider getting geese as the next animal. And hopefully this video is going to help you out there choose your next livestock. So if you're enjoying this video so far and it's going to help you choose your future animal, give it a thumbs up. Give those geese a thumbs up, why don't you? So the next one on the list is...
Guineas?
Bing! Boy,
yes.
You are on fire.
And I find guineas pretty easy.
Let's go see those loud little buggers.
Yeah, well, okay.
All right, y'all think they're so easy. Here they are, crazy little guineas. Look at these little things.
We've raised them since they were babies, but they are loud. So if your neighbors don't like loud animals, they roam if you don't have enough land. Yeah, I can see them being a more medium poultry.
45% of people who own guineas said that they were easy. 40% of people who own guineas said they were medium difficulty. 15% said they were hard. And those are probably the people that have had a bad experience with guineas. We've had some really get hammered by predators. They can drown when they're little keets. There are some challenges to the guineas.
They're a bit more wild, so they're not going to go inside naturally like your chickens do. They're going to want to roost in the trees, and then the raccoons find them. And
if you learn the art of the guinea, you can do a lot better with them. And we have over the years had a lot more success with guineas.
These were escape artists.
Rabbits. Oh, we just did rabbit.
They love relocating our fences.
Pigs.
Nope. It can be nerve-wracking to get a large, stubborn animal to do what you want it to do. Beef cattle.
Beef cattle. Beef cattle. Wow.
Yeah. So Ashley from Has to Be Miller Homestead on Facebook talked about them being escape artists.
Wow.
Who, if there was the tiniest hole in the fence, they were out. And a lot of people actually commented on beef cows pushing and getting out of fences.
Of everybody who owns beef, 27% said they were easy.
21, 67.
27, 61, 11.
Oh, 7, 61.
Stop saying numbers, Kendra. 27% of the people who had beef said they were easy. 61% said they were medium. And only 11% of the people called them difficult. So I went and I looked at everybody who owned beef. And out of...
You found their addresses.
I went to their house. I knocked on their door. What's the matter with you?
Why are they so easy?
No, I looked at our questionnaire, the answers that they put, and they told us what livestock they've owned. And the people who own beef, most of them have owned like tons of different livestock. Only one had only owned 2 other livestock. Everybody else had like 3 or 4 or 5 others.
So they have a lot of livestock experience.
They've had pigs and sheep and goats.
They know like, get your infrastructure set up for
Yes.
these animals. We want to make this a successful experience, and they're able to.
So by the time you're like a wise old homesteader who's raising their own beef, they're not that difficult because you already have worked with like pigs and goats and you know how hard those rascals can be, and beef are just like easier to manage. But I would definitely say if you're a beginner, we are not telling you beef are easy, go for beef. It's a thing that will become easy when you get to that level, that skill. It's like an athlete, you know, if you're a professional athlete, you know, shooting a 3-pointer might not be hard. And that is quite possibly the first Sports Illustration I have ever made on this channel ever. All you sports ball fans out there, that one's for you.
He shoots, he scores!
So now, we're on the backside of beef. Delicious.
Yum.
What's next?
Sheep.
Nope.
Dang it. Oh man, I should stop guessing. They're gonna be a little higher. Tell me it's like an alpaca.
No. I will not tell you that.
Not an emu.
It's not an emu. Emus did not make it to our list. We just didn't have enough emu numbers.
What's what's left? Sheep, goats, dairy cows.
If you just listen,
Oh,
the
pigs.
universe might give you the answer you're looking for.
Pigs!
Pigs!
They are always getting into trouble. It sounds like velociraptors, actually.
I always say pigs are that scene in Jurassic Park where they test the fences.
The fences are electrified, though, right?
That's right, but they never attack the same place twice.
Exactly what this story's
They
about.
test the fences.
They remember.
They know.
One time we had some pigs that kept breaking out, Steve says, so we put up an electric fencer to keep them in. We noticed that as soon as the fencer wasn't working, they were out.
They test it.
We caught them at one time. Every so often, it was like they held an election. One of the pigs had to go out and test the fence.
They were testing the fences for weaknesses systematically.
If the pig went over and touched the fence and squealed, they knew it was still working.
And think about the feeding scene when they feed the raptors. It sounds just like those piglets. Listen to them.
As soon as one of the pigs would test and didn't squeal, they bolted for freedom. Steve Spartman on YouTube. He knows pigs.
Go check Steve out. We have a Homesteady Jurassic Park t-shirt because when you dedicate your life to keeping animals contained, you find a lot of common ground with Jurassic Park. So
Shooter!
25% of people who own pigs called them easy. 61% said they were medium difficulty. And 14% said these little guys were hard. So they're kind of like a solid 61% of people medium. Pigs are a medium difficulty animal right there in the middle. I definitely would agree. They, if you have the wrong infrastructure, can be a nightmare. So you got to get yourself set up correctly in the beginning. Good fence, good watering system.
Buried fence.
And we really suggest when you get into pigs in the beginning to go with feeders, not breeders. We have a class all about this in the Pioneer Library. Pioneers, I'll link to our master class on raising pigs. I think if you have the right infrastructure, we had a really good pig mentor and we got started with some perfect infrastructure and we never had problems with pigs. The problems we've had with them have been when we got more like lazy with infrastructure or we had them in the winter and weren't prepared for that. So if you just raise a couple feeders through the spring, summer, fall and then butcher them, that honestly is an amazing way to put a ton of meat in your freezer and not very difficult.
I see them being a medium. A little bit more infrastructure than you need for chickens, and you're gonna have an issue with neighbors if they're too close with the smell, disposing of waste, and the noise. They can be really loud. They mow down pasture like crazy.
Ooh, sheep.
Oh,
Nailed
yes.
it. Yes, they do.
Okay, pushy. Can find 101 different ways to die. We've had sheep get tangled up in sheep netting, have milk fever, worms, and just die.
Yeah.
You have to be shorn twice a year. Too big for me. The fleece was unusable because the sheep wouldn't let me put them in a clean area for shearing. I hate sheep, they said.
Oh, I thought you were saying that because you kind of do.
I do say that, yeah. This other person said about tangled in sheep netting, but when you have a bunch of lambs running and jumping around, you forget the bad stuff.
24% of people said sheep were easy. 55% said they were medium, and 21% said they were hard. So now we're starting to get a lot more into the, 2 out of every 10 said these were hard animals. But 55% solid medium, sheep.
Yeah. Sheep fencing's gonna be, I think, your biggest issue. Fencing, parasites, you're gonna have to really be on top of the rotational grazing. We've been there, we've killed them for not doing a good job with that. And if you have woolly sheep, you'll have to shear them.
Yeah.
We've always had hair sheep though, so they would lose it. This person talks about the expense that goes with this animal.
Dairy cow.
Yes!
Nice.
I thought that would throw you.
I love dairy cows. I love dairy cows
Wait.
so much.
This person says, I love my dairy cows.
Oh, it's like a thing. If you have dairy cows.
You love them, but expense that goes with them is the knowledge of handling and care, when to self-treat or vet treat. It's nice to have a dairy management degree or prior experience.
Wow.
There's hoof trimming, feed, and getting mixtures correct for good production. one of the most finicky animals that I know about. That is, I think, that's the sliding scale. Like you can have a lower producing cow who doesn't need, but we know they need the proper minerals.
Yeah.
If you want to maintain pregnancies, they do need their feet looked after. They are expensive to get into, plus to purchase infrastructure for them. That's got to be, I would say, on the harder side.
Still in the mediums.
Yeah, but harder medium.
And do you realize what this means?
No.
Goat people, do you realize what this means?
Even goat people think dairy cows are easier?
Everybody thinks dairy cows are easier than goats. You may disagree. Someone you know might disagree. That's okay. These are just what we have experienced here on our homestead. So, I get redemption. I said dairy cows are easier than goats. Some people disagreed, but the bulk of the people ranked dairy cows as solid mediums, and we haven't got to goats yet, but
They're
stay tuned.
not as easy as dairy cows.
So,
Yeah, dairy cows, harder side of medium. You're changing your life to be there to milk your dairy cow. You have to set up for a large animal. You got to take them to the vet in a trailer or get the vet to your house. Breeding is more complicated than just throwing a sheep ram in the back of your car and taking it to breed your ewes. So I could see it being harder.
I think it's in a good spot in this ranking. I actually am
Yes,
pretty
it's pretty
happy
fair.
with dairy cow after pig and sheep. Yep.
Yeah, and even after beef.
Yep. Just not turkeys, saying turkeys.
Now, in our stories section, we had people who gave up their goats to switch to a dairy cow, and they regretted it. They wanted to go back to their goats, hated their cows. We had people who switched from goats to a dairy cow, and they loved it. Love their dairy cow. Don't miss their goats. I think cow versus goat, depending on what you want to milk, does come down to personality, what you're gonna like more, what's gonna suit you more. So that's up to you to decide. But for me, I have to go milk my cow right now.
Because you like milking cows more.
The goats are coming. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you know where that brings us.
To hard.
To the harder animals.
All right.
Everything that's left is now considered by the majority of people who have experience with it hard. Either the hard side of medium, where it was a lot of mediums and hards, or just hard.
It's gotta be goats.
No.
No!
Not goats.
Donkeys.
I actually forgot what it is. Let me look again. No.
Alpacas.
Yes.
Okay, I have zero experience with alpacas. Our neighbors had them. We looked after them for a week. They seemed pretty easy just to feed and hay, but I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it.
One time the alpacas got out of our neighbor's farm and were running down the road.
We were pretty new to country
I was a new
life.
country boy at the time, and I said, hey look, the neighbors are having an alpaca parade.
Their gate had just come open.
But they all ran in single file. You got to give them that credit.
Orderly. I would guess with alpacas, there's the shearing. They're a more exotic animal. Could be harder for vet care.
Yep.
And I know there is an issue with parasites as they're camelids. There's
So
an issue
always.
with parasites.
Yep.
Okay, next. These animals look for ways to kill or maim themselves
That was the quail.
daily. That's different.
Okay, that sounds like goats again.
Austin!
One of these days it's gonna be
But
goats.
stop guessing
okay,
goats.
stop guessing goats.
They have delicate digestive systems.
That's got to be a ruminant. Am I getting warmer?
Can colic if not given the proper
horse.
foods and conditions.
Yeah, all
Yes.
right, good, okay.
Horses. And Janelle told us that. She also said, which is what a lot of people say, that said, I love my horses and I'm willing to put up with their shenanigans just to be in the presence of such a magnificent animal. To have a connection with your horse is one of life's greatest joys.
This is what you're gonna see. People know that they have a ridiculously
Yes.
hard animal and they still love it and will defend it.
And that's okay. Yeah.
54% of people who own horses said they were mediums, but 33% 4% said they were hard. So now we're getting to the medium hard side
You've
of the
got
scale.
hoof care with horses. You've got ones who have to have specialized diets.
Getting kicked.
You really do have to watch the grazing because they'll graze too low. The parasites are another issue. An advantage of horses is most vets in your area know how to take care of horses, so at least that's nice.
Yep.
But it's a large animal, so you've got to have a trailer if you need to take it somewhere.
When we've talked about horses in the past on this channel, some people have said, oh, you know what, they're not really a homestead animal. Where we live, we have a lot of Mennonite and Amish farms who use draft horses to do plowing and things. So we like to include them on the list. If you are an equestrian farm that just rides for fun and you don't consider that homesteading, well, that's up to whatever. But people do, there are people with horses, as we know from the results of our poll. We had a lot of people.
Okay, no fence was good enough to keep them in.
Oh man, of course I'm thinking goats.
So stubborn, took us nearly 3 days to get them back in.
Oh man, gotta be goats.
No, not goats.
So stubborn. What other animal is stubborn?
This animal would not only turn and kick you, our donkey Roy
Donkey!
was given to us.
Yes.
So this is Amy, told us about her donkey Roy. And another person who said they were so stubborn, took us 3 days to get them back in with the sheep they were supposed to be looking after.
It's a donkey.
Okay,
It's a
I
wee
feel like
donkey.
this is skewed, and maybe you'll have to look back at your numbers. How many people answered about donkeys?
I can tell you right now. You think like one person just hated a donkey?
Yes, I think we had donkeys when I was growing up, and they were not a difficult animal.
I have my data right here, ready to...
So I feel like I would rank them kind of similar to horses and the hoof care. We had a donkey, Jenny, and she gave birth. We didn't even know she was pregnant. She gave birth
You are
on
not
a
correct.
cold November day. A little baby boy. We brought him inside under a heat lamp and
14
thrived.
people. 14 people voted, and only 2 said donkeys were easy. 14 people voted, 7 called them mediums, and 5 called them hards.
So it's a medium.
Well,
a
it's hard
medium.
side
All
to
right.
medium.
So I'd say horses and donkeys are pretty comparable.
Horses and donkeys. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You'd say.
I would say that.
All right, which brings us to the final 2.
Weather sensitive.
Weather sensitive. Ooh, weather sensitive.
Need more individual attention to their health to thrive.
Individual attention. Weather sensitive, individual attention.
More frequent management and medical intervention.
Not goats.
Goats!
Goats? Goats! The one time I
You
didn't
didn't
guess
guess
goats! Ah,
Sus-
you got
Goats have questions and sassy opinions. So yeah, Kelsey from Rough and Tumble Farmhouse talked about how they're more weather
Kelsey.
sensitive, need a lot of hoof maintenance, more individual attention. She says, I love them and miss them.
Oh.
But my life is much easier without them. And then Andrea talked about how susceptible they are to parasites and illness. And she said, keeping them in fences was an ongoing challenge in which I honed my extreme dislike for chasing livestock. Goats want to see what the world looks like from the top of your car. That does not surprise me. I knew goats would be high. All right, I'll be honest. I'm a little surprised they're this high.
You mean like you're surprised they're this?
I'm surprised they're almost the hardest animal, but I'm not surprised because I think a lot of us, when we start goats, are under the impression that they're easy. Goats are one of those things you add after chickens. And before long, you find out they are not an easy animal. They're hard to fence. They're hard to keep healthy. We've had issues with internal parasites, external parasites, poison.
Getting stuck in fences.
Oh my goodness, getting stuck in fences, getting out of
Feet
fences.
problems.
Feet problems. Yeah, they're definitely a challenge. And if you're starting them as your first livestock, I think it's a shock how challenging they can actually be.
I know I'm hard on goats. It's not from lack of experience. We have owned over 20 goats over the last decade of homesteading. We've owned almost every breed. I've tried to love goats. They are the only animal that I ever said never again on this homestead. I put my foot down. I said we are done with goats.
Yeah, and what happened?
And then I had a 11-year-old daughter.
Ooh.
So she wanted goats, and here we are back again with these lovely beings. I actually get a lot of fun. I think the reason I say this a lot, the reason I don't like goats is because I'm very much like a goat.
Confessions.
Yeah, I think we butt heads a lot, much like goats do with one another. There were a ton of people who commented on the whether or not goats were easy, medium, or hard. There's a lot of people who've owned goats. Of all the goat owners, only 16% said that they were easy. 46% of the people said they were medium. And up to this point, the highest number of people saying that an animal was hard, 38%. That means out of 10 people who own goats, about 4 of them would call them hard. Just a hard animal to work with. I 100% would be in that group. I think goats are very hard.
Goats can be so much easier if we all lived in an area where we could let our goats out and they could pick what browse they wanted to higher up. Unfortunately, most of us don't have that kind of space. We worry about predators, so we want to keep our goats locked in somewhere, and that's why they have such an issue with parasites. Parasites that are becoming more and more resistant to the deworming medication that we have. And vets, a lot of vets, they say they work with goats, but they don't have a lot of experience with goats. So the information you get from them isn't going to be the most helpful or accurate sometimes. So goats can definitely be a challenge. And yet here we all are with goats. We're crazies, huh? Amanda Abdallah had a goat experience, which is similar to one we once had. She said, I tried to have goats. I went to pick up my goats and happily brought them home. I opened the door to let them out. The pregnant female jumped out, ran across the street, and has never been caught. My entire town now owns her. They feed her, but no one could catch her. And then I had to rehome the other goat because goats don't like to be alone.
Well, I guess that brings us to
The final countdown.
the one animal that more than half of the people who actually have experience with it described it as hard.
Such a funny one too on the list. It feels like wrong to say given the current situation of this animal worldwide, but I'm gonna say bees.
You are correct.
It's funny to think about like bees, what they are, right? They're
It should be no surprise bees are the
right.
hardest.
I
They're
mean,
literally
imagine
like a...
every animal on your farm you give like a needle to, and if they get the slightest bit irritated with you, they can run up to you and stab it into you.
Yeah, shocker. They're really hard to work with. And I'm sure goats would try to do that if they could.
I have had experience with bees. We did have a really hard time with them. It was a lot more work involved than I had anticipated with bees, and a lot more failure too.
54% of people who own bees said they were hard. 54% said they were hard. That was crazy. But now, don't go calling the bees the hardest just yet. This story isn't over. Up until this point in this video, we just asked people if you had experience, would you call this one animal easy, medium, or hard? Is an alpaca easy, medium, or hard difficulty? But now I wanted to ask everybody who took the time to fill out our questionnaire, how would they compare if you compare them against each other? Would the person who owns chickens and rabbits say that chickens are actually easier than rabbits? Would the person who owns bees and goats say that bees are harder than goats, or vice versa? So I asked everybody, what is the one easiest and one hardest animal you have ever owned? So when I asked what is the easiest animals you've ever worked with, this actually pretty much stayed the same. 64% of people said chickens were still their one easiest animal, and rabbits came in a close second place. Now we asked everybody, what is the one animal when you compare all the different animals that you've owned against each other, what's the hardest one for you personally? You in the comments, guess, which would you say is the one hardest? I'll give you a minute to think about it. It was interesting to note that every single livestock on our questionnaire was mentioned by at least one person as their particular hardest. Even chickens. There was even somebody who said chickens were the hardest animal for them. We know that every livestock can be difficult. That's why we have the Pioneer Library. We have a whole category broken down by every individual livestock. In each section, you'll find interviews with experts who've been working with that livestock for years and years. We interview them, we ask all the questions. We want to make all the livestock, even goats, easier for you to raise. So if you would like to raise more livestock and be better at it, the Pioneer Library is a tool for you. If you would like to get access to all that expert advice for all the different livestock, become a pioneer. We'll have a link below where you can become a Homesteady pioneer. Now, which animal was the most difficult out of all the animals when compared with the others? Let's get to that. What do you think more people said than any other animal?
I think it's gotta be goats.
Yes.
Yes! I got it. Yeah, goats.
Goats! I think all the bee owners also own goats and went and said goats were the hardest, because when we compared this, 25% of the people named goats as the hardest animal they had, whereas only 5% said bees were the hardest animal when compared with the others. They said bees were hard, but not the hardest. Goats were mentioned as the hardest, followed in second place by pigs. So, whereas most people think pigs are medium, there were a lot of people who found pigs to be the hardest animal they had. You now know what animals are easy and hard, but you don't know how many of each you should have to be self-sufficient on your homestead. We covered that question in this video, which you can click right here to watch. We'll talk about how many of each kind of livestock a larger family should have to feed themselves and be more self-sufficient.